Okay, so the last several times it's actually said this at the beginning. I wonder what it's actually downloading, and more to the point, is this going to give me like a fake out, like false hope that, oh, they'll actually be something that they're updating. I'm going to resist the temptation to get whatever these are, and of course, thankfully, these are ones that I really wouldn't want anyway. I kind of have more birthday treats, 15% off, thrilling new packs. The only kind of pack I would get is if it's something that's actually going to be happy 15th birthday. Oh, that's just, I was gonna say, there's no way this game's only been out for 8 years, which is still more than I thought. That's just PvZ itself. Heroes, thanks for being part of the PvZ family. We couldn't have grown to 15 without you. Yeah, and to celebrate, this game's gonna go offline forever. Join us in celebrating a decade and a half of leafy battles and zombie shenanigans. This is kind of disingenuous though too. You're taking credit for the whole franchise. Like, this is just, you know, you should say happy 8th birthday for this game only. We're rolling out the red carpet with some awesome deals, or we'll use it to sell you more microtransactions. Limited time offers with 15% off gems. Not just that, we have fresh new packs with amphibious armored bullseye cards waiting for you in the store. Mark your counters. Party kicks off May 24th to May 26th. So what if between those dates was not a Sunday, or not a Sunday, a Friday, so therefore I wouldn't play the game in that 2-day span because I only play once a week, so that could be unfair to me. Like, bullseye pack, 6 bullseye cards, which again, it should be a mechanic that I like. I could get like maybe one of these, I suppose. Rare guaranteed, super rare 30%, legendary 10%. How about a hero 0%, just like every other pack I've ever opened, even though technically it's not. The one thing I could also get now is a zombie hero with respect to like I can get the Yeti because I have a legendary of each of their class types. Basically, that was my rule, that I can only get a legendary if I have one, you know, for both of those, which I never had that for zombies because I only had one legendary period, because I had never gotten one from a pack, right? I had only gotten the Nurse Gargantua from that guaranteed pack, so therefore that would only be one class type that I had overall. I'll do one of those just for the heck of it, but I do want to keep the 1,000 ready for the Bad Moon Rising, and so what we're basically trying to save up for is 1750. And the reason why I want 1750, see, that's pretty good in itself. I think I already have it though. 1750, that way I can buy the hero and have that at the same time. This is the con man that everybody talks about and likes so much, which I'm not really that big a fan of it, but it's pretty well statted too. 1 mana 1/3. And the really cool thing about the bullseye isn't the fact of it hitting you in the face for one, it's the effect also won't trigger your, you know, when it does damage to the effect, that's also bullseye. The cactus here is a little bit underwhelming. Like, really, the cactus should have strike through. That's what it has in the game, right? I'm fact checking these cards, don't make sense. It doesn't mean it wouldn't trigger the block meter, it means it would hit everything on that side of the field, or whatever, hit your face too. While in an environment, it gets +1/+1 bullseye. Not really that special. I mean, I don't use environments that much. That thing we already have, this thing we already have, but I'm pretty happy to have it because, whatever, 6 mana, 6/7 is itself better value than most of this shit that I have still. Yeah. But no, what was my favorite bullseye card? It's that stupid Viking thing. That's, because it also drains their block meter too. I love that. Which of course I don't have, but just whatever. So at least we're in the threshold of having, and I tried playing a multiplayer of having the 1,000 whatever, right? I tried playing a multiplayer game against somebody last time and it just wouldn't work, right? That's the one, this game has one job and it just never does it right. Where, let's see who can even use what here. A Wall Knight can use the Plantern. I mean, I do have a couple environments here. I have the Thorns, I have this thing, which is, some of this is in there just for the sake of it. Like, I don't really have like a great healing synergy. There's some sort of infinite loop with the healing that can happen. Like, whenever you heal, it does damage. Whenever you do damage, it heals. But not really worth it. I mean, unless there's something poorly statted. But everything we have here is kind of for effects and stuff too. Right, so there's no need for that. And then we'll go... I just like the whole presentation and the UI of this game, like, even though again it's minimized in the whole mobile space, but there is something, they got all those aesthetic elements right. There's so many like other better games, or games with more cards and more IP to them, like whatever, Marvel Snap or something, but they do maybe some of those elements wrong, or they especially do the, I don't know, they get lost in their business model too much, which of course this is all about the gems and stuff like that too, but I don't know, just the way they present that game is so bad. I'll never miss out on an opportunity to shit all over Marvel Snap because it really was disappointing. I guess the only reason why I was so enthusiastic about it was because of Ben Bro too, but I probably should have 2 of those, but maybe I don't need them. But then again, I could just replace like do I really need 2 of these? I have a 4 cost, 4 cost, 4 cost, 4 cost, like, because I got that one, which was of course the other zombie legendary that I just got from a pack, right? Or the only one technically, and I still haven't used it, I don't think, right? Like I haven't got, maybe I did. Yeah, obviously you want to play it to the left, use that, whatever that song is, to the left, to the left. You got to think of that song when you think of that card, unlike me who would put it in the water just to troll people or whatever, just like I do with the Dark Matter Dragon Fruit. So I'll get rid of that stupid thing because we have an adequate number of 4 cost cards as well. And then, but no, that would be the next major investment that I make, aside from, you know, treating 1,000 like it's 0, just so we have 2 Bad Moon Risings on lockdown whenever they come up, right? Then I'm gonna regret not getting 4 of them. But I mean, I don't think you would ever really want 4 of them. But then again, I kind of would. But a game's never gonna last long enough, right? You do it once or twice and you're gonna win just on that token alone. But you know, you could use it just to heal them too. Like you have a board full of Gargantuars and they get them all down to 1 HP, and then you do it again just to basically get another one of something similar, right? Not that is that much better than what you already have, but just to bring, you know, kind of top it off and bring it back to full health. But we'll get that zombie Yeti, which is called what? Brain Freeze. And the reason why is because, again, we have a sneaky legendary, and which is like the cowboy, and we have the beastly legendary, which is like the nurse, right? So that would be the only one I can technically get, which is kind of a cool dynamic way to get it, as if I'm not, you know, restricting myself even all the more, on top of not being able to craft and not being able to use microtransactions and stuff. So the con man is good, and this is one of those things that people would say in a very matter-of-fact sense with this game. Like, con man is great, you gotta have con man, but is it really that good in my type of deck? Like, it still is good, but it's only good with other kind of synergies and ways to protect it and keep it around, or having like 4 of them the way that people always do. So whenever you put something new in a deck, in general in a card game, what you should always look for is try to get rid of something of a similar cost, which is kind of not what I'm doing right here. But you know, you don't want to get rid of, oh, this random 5 cost card because you didn't really put something commensurate to its cost in there, so it doesn't really work. You could almost get rid of the overshoot, but I kind of like it. I feel like I don't use that actually all that often, but you know, I don't have almost enough tricks in here. Like how many times do I really use the movement card? I guess if I feel like I need it, you would say like, oh, you have too many minions, but that's kind of what I'm all about, especially with the pseudo aggro style of play that I have to go for it. So yeah, we got some pretty good stuff from there. I'm not a big fan of that climber one for the, you know, you have to play it on a height and it gets like +2/+2, but then it only, or +2 attack. It's only a +4, it's only a 4 attack, you know, it's only a 4 mana 4/4 anyway though, so it's not even that good. They just give me a 4 mana 4/4 period. Okay, let's see what we can do, but no, we're getting close to what could be almost a series finale episode, at least in a vague sense. Like, I want to try to maybe make a run 1 month to try to get to rank 50, but again, I just don't play enough to make that happen, so I don't understand how I'm supposed to do it. I would just have to play a lot more, right? Even if my collection was adequate to that level, which it very well might not be. I feel like I could almost do it, though. Because I've gotten like so many. Actually, this would probably be worth it. Or wait. No, I'll ignore it for now. But no, it's like you would have to play a lot. You would have to not do this permanent thing. Or it could be like if I fail to get to it that 1 month I decide to, then I have to delete my account. But that would be after we get Bad Moon Rising. So the finale will just be me finally getting Bad Moon Rising, and then I can do it as a bonus session here and there. But it just makes me look even more filthy casual than what I am, because like, what, you didn't even get rank 50 in a fucking casual card game? It's not like it would be that hard, but within the context of my collection, I don't know. Yeah, Combustible has been actually pretty good, so I can't complain about his performance, as obviously the one and only new hero edition that I've ever gotten. But no, that's what I almost want from a pack more than anything now. I've gotten a good amount of legendaries, but why can't I just randomly get a hero? Because if I get a hero that way, obviously it subverts the need to have one legendary of each class, right? Then I'm just getting it, period. But obviously if I buy it outright, I made that rule. So that's still kind of letting the game dictate which ones I can get. And of course, for the most part, for like zombies, there is only one I can get within that criteria, and only just recently. Whereas with the plants, there's probably a couple, just because I have at least a good number of legendaries. I almost wanted to get Rose just because Rose can use dark matter dragon fruit, so it would be a good excuse to do that, just because it's such an awesome card. But obviously I kind of hate Rose and her overall style of play, but it's amazing that you get such an awesome card to go along with it. So what would I want to do here? I should do like this and then just kill that stupid chick. There really should have been a mechanic that's not amphibious, but just like aquatic, as I always say, right? Where some of them can only be played in the water. That would have been one of the keywords that they would add later to, so it would be really good, but it would be like you don't have the flexibility that amphibious gets where you can play it in either one. They would have added that in some new expansion later, where, you know, if they had ever made one. That's not too big of a deal. Just, I mean, I might regret leaving that thing around, but my board is kind of way more menacing than theirs. That is like way overkill too. We get to double strike ×2 just because we're obviously teamed up in there too, so that is kind of a good. But see, this is just simple removal that they're failing to do. If they don't get rid of this, obviously they're going to get destroyed by it, but everything is always like a best case scenario. Like, wow, what a great play, but it's too obvious of a play that any good deck would have an answer for something like that. How can you just let this happen? So this thing is not going to be too good right now. I'm really not a fan of anti-hero because the statting is just not good enough. 6 mana 4/5 is very underwhelming. Leafy tree plant. Actually, this is a bit of a greedy play, but I guess I could do. We'll do it like this because I want to save that other thing. Or you know what you could do? I feel. You know what? I'm just gonna ignore it though. Because, whatever. It's really greedy and stupid because I could have played it there and buffed it. But I'm going to assume that they'll play something and buff it more, and I don't care if they keep hitting me with it because my board is way more imposing than theirs, so that was kind of a dumb thing to do, but... Okay, but now it's too little too late because I have another one ready to go. But yeah, see, they would have buffed it beyond the point of that being able to kill it anyway. Or at least this is a good interplay, right? They'll buff theirs up to 1,000,000 by playing tricks, but they'll also buff mine, so at least it punishes them in that regard. That's one of my favorite mechanics, like I always say, just punish them for playing tricks or spells or whatever you want to call them. Just either prevent them from doing it, like dark matter dragon fruit. It will almost make you think that I crafted it because how convenient that I got 2 of them, that when I love that mechanic so much. Not just the fact that, oh, it's a strong card. Okay, there's the brain freeze, actually. Kind of defeats the whole lure behind, you know, the mystique of, oh, it's such a mysterious, you know, like Bigfoot type creature that you would never see. Also, he's just standing right there. Like, he should always be hiding out of sight a little bit or something. The way that he's so elusive and impossible to find in PvZ, the game itself, but like the original, right? You see him in like you see him at like nighttime in some of the dark levels, but you also see him on the roof at times, even in the day. I don't know why some of those levels go on for so long that he's just randomly in there. Like I was doing the PvZ hard mode and I didn't even realize the Yeti was in there. And then I go back in my VOD and look through it and I'm like, oh, there he is. He's just randomly clumped up with everybody else. Like, not very inconspicuous or anything. So for a while there, I couldn't even figure out how to find it. Like, but it, you know, you end up playing that so much over and over, it just happened on its own. I couldn't remember if I had found it in the regular game, which maybe you didn't, because maybe the levels are over so quickly you don't even get the chance. Right, so I had like that one detective episode where I made a point to try to find the Yeti. Like, I can't progress until I find it. Like, supposedly they like to be on those levels that are in the dark, like where there's only lightning, so it's completely black, and then you occasionally get a flash of lightning, and you'll see the Yeti in that, kind of. The whole thing with this is we should just ignore completely what he's doing, but actually, I can't. That's still a favorable trade. 1, 3, 3, 2... Yeah, there's all kind of mods and stuff for this game too, which I don't know exactly how that would work with multiplayer purposes. But I'm usually not the type to really mod stuff. I just kind of, well, I mean, obviously for hard mode purposes, like with what I just did in my previous category. But what I mean is, like, it's, you kind of get lost with all that where it's, there's just too much of it, so you'd rather almost not even worry about it. Right, it can be sort of overwhelming. What I would rather almost look at is, whatever, I would just move on to another card game, like Duelist 2 or something. I can't really think of any others that I'd be super enthusiastic to try out. I am always like that. Like, I'll like a genre of games, but it doesn't mean I played a lot of them. It just means I played them a lot, which means, like, you know, oh, I love MMOs, but I've only played like 2 of them for a long period of time, like Tibia and World of Warcraft. Right, so there's so many others that I would have missed, but they are so time-consuming that that's what it's like. It doesn't mean that you like the genre, so therefore you've played a million games in the genre, like you would with single-player games, and just beat them and move on, right? It's more like you commit to one and really get invested. So same thing with a card game. Like, oh, I'm a lifelong card gamer. I love card games. Also, I played mostly just Yu-Gi-Oh! And Hearthstone, right, would be the 2. And then, obviously, lately I've been playing, obviously, Magic and stuff like that, but I guess I always sort of looked down on Magic or dismissed it, not because even I thought it was bad, but just because I thought it was one of those things like, wait, make a copy with Team Up. Oh, maybe I didn't understand that. I always thought that they both had Team Up, so one of them doesn't, because that's weird. Only the copy of it has Team Up, and that's the one he happened to have just killed. Doesn't really matter, but I don't think I've really been punished or paid attention to that interaction so far. But no, like, because Magic, oh, that's that vanilla game that, you know, the traditional thing that everybody's sort of been there, done that, so it's old news, and every other card game is probably better. Also, I end up playing something like this, which, again, is not even bad, but yeah, I love that people complain about the meta, but they sort of, you know, will still keep playing into it themselves. Like, why not try something interesting and different? But then you'll get punished by somebody who's not doing that. So this guy's just completely destroyed. I love getting them in sort of top deck mode, which just shows you my deck is better than theirs. But, you know, how could I feel bad for that, even if it is, when I've earned this myself in a free-to-play, you know, first playthrough sense, also without not being able to craft, like, all these kind of limits that make it feel even more rewarding. You know, I don't feel bad for anybody if I clown them with 2 Dark Matter Dragon Fruits. They almost wouldn't believe it, too. Like, anybody who sees that Green Shadow deck in action, like I'm playing against somebody and I play both Dark Matter Dragon Fruits, they'd be like, there's no fucking way this guy got those. You know, this must be some pay-to-win tryhard. I would even say the same thing, too. If I see somebody with 2, not only 2 legendaries that are so good, but 2 of the same one, right? I would never believe that it's a free-to-play thing. Or they'd be saying, oh, you hacked your account to get all the cards. Like, you know, people always say that. Okay, let's just go face. I'm getting kind of overconfident, and I even didn't play that when I should have. Imagine if I end up losing now. I'm going to just make him think that I'm in top deck mode, even though I'm not. And that was actually a series of mistakes that I just made there in my overconfidence. I'll plants on the ground, or you know what I would have to do is I would have to replace my little extra sessions of chess that I do with with this game 1 month just to try to get to just to try to get to rank 50. That would be an adequate finale. It doesn't mean I wouldn't play the game necessarily ever anymore, but that's at least a good way to cap it off. Get Bad Moon Rising and then use that to launch into rank 50, rank 50 push. The way I originally said that I wanted to do is I said that I wanted to go through like every hero in the game, so I would have to first unlock every hero in the game, and then I would have to basically, you know, do like a permadeath round robin sort of thing with them. So like with every hero in the game only having 1 life per week, you have to get to rank 50 right within that context. Like you have 1 try with each hero for the whole month, or 1 try with each hero for the each week session that I do, and within those sessions you have to beat the game, or whatever. I could do it over multiple sessions. You have to beat the game by getting to rank 50 basically, which again, it's not that big of a deal. People would, you know, mock that idea in any sort of meta card game type environment. Like, of course it's easy to get to rank 50, but only if you're using the exact deck intended. And so to whatever extent, it's like I can try my best and make my best possible deck, but it's not up to me what cards I have. So I may or may not have a deck that's actually capable of doing it, or that would fit into sort of that meta expectation that people would have. You would like to think I should be able to do this one here, but it ends up taking me forever. Even though I am playing like a very heavy aggro deck that would be the most likely to do that as quickly as possible. Even if I lose, I'll be doing a lot of damage to their face, you know. Guaranteed. That was maybe not the best mulligan that we've ever had. Or I guess in this game it's not called a mulligan, it's called turning a new leaf, is the way you could you could call it. Okay, not really a good turn to play, except now there kind of is, because I'll just use that removal. I almost try to avoid the center because then it's too conspicuous. Like, of course they're going to play stuff in the center. Right, like, I like the whole face roll mentality that I have here, where I just completely ignore what they're doing. Or it's kind of disappointing that I would have almost wanted to make a series of Elder Scrolls Legends, although I kind of didn't, because, oh no, it might spoil stuff from the Elder Scrolls series, even though, you know, it's like, it's not that I haven't played games in that for hundreds of hours or even thousands of hours with Skyrim, but I still am so particular that I wouldn't want a card game or some other, you know, external IP game for a series to potentially spoil it. Like, I'd be afraid to play Fallout 76, even though I have that on my Saturday poll thing, as a potential one that I might do, like playing it for the first time just to try it. I wouldn't want that to spoil something about Fallout 4 or something. Somehow the mechanics will be the same or whatever. You know, that's okay to do, but it's almost like what I'm doing there is playing them defensively in a way I don't really want to do, because like I'm overdoing it with the, you know, a lot of the time there is nothing else you can do there, because just what am I holding them back for? I guess I could have done like an AoE buff there. We're getting some kind of bad curve plays. He had enough stuff in his hand where it wasn't like a foregone conclusion that I was going to win that even. Right, but I'm assuming it wasn't very good then. Oh, and we get the 100 for the league. So yeah, we're in great position with respect to getting the Bad Moon Rising, so I have to not touch that. Do not touch that 1,000 amount and just let it sit there forever. The Combustible is just going to get me to rank 50 in this session alone, so why even worry about it? But you would have to go on some insane streaks, which maybe at some point my decks will get good enough where that's going to just happen, right? Like, no, but you're always going to face some crazy matchups here and there. See, that's where you can sometimes subvert and work around the meta. I'm using a deck that may or may not be that good. Like, it's not terrible, but it's not meta, so all the meta decks will be confused by it. So you might actually do better against them than if you were using a meta deck yourself, because you see there'll be like a lot of anti-meta stuff in their meta deck that's like, oh, I'm going to play around this mechanic and this mechanic because I know that's what they're going to be using. But since I'm not using it, it throws them off. So you actually end up doing better against them because your deck is worse than the decks they typically go against, because, you know, it's like this sort of closed structure way of thinking about it. since everything is reactive. Okay, this is like a terrible spot to be in because I kind of just want to ignore what he's doing, but it's going to probably be a big mistake. Like, I'm really going to out-aggro you when you're already beating me up on the board a little bit. But it is going to probably scare you to think that I would have the balls to do that. Fuck it, dude. All it would take is like one more of those, and look at the shitty block meter draws that you get from that too. I hate the internal RNG with that too, right? Like, we just hit him twice. One of them gave him 2 bars and one of them gave him 1 bar. Like, why? Why does that happen? Right? And it can give you whatever, just variable amounts every time. At first I thought it was the amount of damage that you do, right? Is what would determine that, but obviously it's not. 1-3, we almost want that to survive, but I almost don't even care. We do have the leafy synergy going on, and so there's no reason really not to do that. And then I can buff something, which would be just this thing. The poison ivy is like deceptively good, actually. I don't like it because the statting is kind of awkward. It's a 3 mana 1-3, so it doesn't seem that good, but then it sticks around for so long sometimes that it does become a thorn in their side, literally, I guess you could say. All these plant related puns that I just never seem to run out of. Or that's why they stopped coming up with new card ideas, because they ran out of ideas for stupid jokes and puns that they could make with them, I guess. So you wouldn't survive this no matter what, right? Even if you buffed it. You can't really move anything around, so that one doesn't matter. But you should almost just do that anyway. Like, just do it as a static play. Alright, so you'll trade in favorably. That's not too big of a deal. You'll still trade in with that. Yeah, sadly, this game just suits my schedule even more than anything else, because it's been satisfying and rewarding to play even in these short sessions. Not because, oh, you know, I'm making so much progress, but because you can make a meaningful amount of progress, right? There's only like, what, 400 cards in the game, or 400 for each side, I can't remember. So there's like less than 1,000 cards, which again, that's fine, but that's like just 1 or 2 expansions in some games. And so why would you even bother worrying about that? This is at least kind of a more intense back and forth game, but we've just been rolling over these people for the most part. The middle is wide open to this, and I'm not too worried about my health situation, but sometimes there is a principle that you shouldn't overcommit to like one thing, even though that's often what I'm all about with some of my mid-range stuff. But with this kind of deck, you should almost just are you really going to be left with like 1 HP and just fuck me over? You're going to be in a position where, or you know, I'll get the lethal from getting hit. Like, I want to get hit 3 times so I get the extra attack card from my hero superpower, so therefore I end up, you know, killing you defensively. Because I took damage, I got the card that I needed to do lethal to you, right? Which could be exactly what you're looking for, but that's kind of a redundant factor too. Right? I'm just doing it just for the sake of it, but I have to finish it off now. But no, you should play like multiple things, because it makes it harder to remove, and then they have to use an AoE or double, you know, two forms of removal to get. Aww. Wait, but you only have like, wait, I thought you only had 2, so I thought it was whatever. I don't know what happened. The point is that, does it do 2 for each or 3 for each? I don't know what the math was there. But no, it's basically like you want to split the amount of stuff you summon, because getting rid of one target is always easier and more efficient than multiple. We always keep giving Smash and Combustible the special treatment because it gives the impression that, whatever, they're some of the better ones, or not really. Combustible isn't necessarily the best one that I have. It's just the newest one, so I was trying to give it some shine for that. And I guess it's kind of fast-paced too, right? Where, you know, the games are going to go quick whether you win or lose. But then again, I kind of am baited into playing this aggro style regardless, just because there's my less favorite Disco Ball card, because I love the Disco Wall Knight. Not a legendary technically, but you'll always be a legendary to me. Right, like the Astro Kato, I'm not a huge fan of. It's a good card, it's a good value card, but it does require a certain amount of support or something more to protect it, which you kind of still do have, because, you know, do I even bother doing this? I don't even think it's worth it. You know, you have like team ups and stuff to hide behind, like the walnut, so it has a certain value to it. Destroy one of their nuts or berries. Let's see. When you play a pet, I guess that seems okay, so now you can try to combo with that there. Or you know what could be the case is that since this game is so casual, maybe nobody's ever come up with truly the best deck ever, right? Even the best players are still, I don't know about that, but like, you know, nobody's really, there's still some crazy deck out there that nobody's ever thought of, because the true card game geniuses don't play this game because it's too casual for them or whatever. But then again, I'm right here, so I guess that's not true, huh? Destroy one of their nuts or berries. What do I want? I don't know. Move a plant, hunt. I guess we could move it sort of reactively. We won't move it to kill it. We'll move it away from the hunt one that moved there, right? So like, whatever he summons, I'll end up there, and then I'll move myself away just to hit him in the face again. So we're doing it to counter my own effect. Yeah, like there. But then again, he did that kind of anyway. But see, even if it's frozen, it can still move, not by its own volition, but by... Or, I mean, I guess I'm not even doing that. But, I mean, like, I could still move my own thing, even if it's frozen. Yeah, this sometimes can be a double-edged sword, how I'm so... And I shouldn't even play like that with this deck. I keep thinking, like, every deck is Captain Combustible, because it's... I guess I may as well just do that. I keep treating it like that. Every deck is just full on aggro, just go face, but I don't have to do that here. At least to some extent, I have the nurse and other things to worry about. Or why would you do that? He misclicked. Why the fuck would you put it behind? I mean, that's still pretty good value that you're doing it on both, but it's not like he's gonna buff the Torchwood and keep whacking me with that. Or like, what is even the animation on some of those? That's always interesting to consider, right? You might think, oh, they didn't bother putting in an attack animation for the Torchwood because it has 0 attack. But if you buff it, it would have to have one. So that's always interesting to see, right? For certain cards like in Hearthstone, there's like a weird element to that. Like, it's not something that's traditionally meant to attack, and you'll very rarely see it attack, but it still has to have that there in case it gets buffed or has some other effect, right, that causes it to do that. So I actually almost want to use that in a game just to test that. I can't remember off the top of my head. Obviously, it'll be something to do with fire. Maybe it'll like spit a fireball out of its mouth at you. They look very different here too. Like, that face is nothing like what it looks like in the game. In the actual game. Okay, that might actually be worth it. But that's like always one element of discipline that you can have, is like hold back your removal for when you really need it, which is a big part of meta in any of these games. Like, you know, you'll save it for not a good minion, but for a great minion that you know they're gonna have, right? This sort of typical meta play. You know, you're saving, I don't know what an example would be, but that was actually a waste. That was a waste. Fuck. Sometimes I feel pressured to like move too fast because you know, it is so casual and fast paced and everything is so smooth that I don't even want to. I feel bad like if I'm roping, but you shouldn't do that. You got to take it seriously and calculate these advanced sort of plays. But that was obviously just a very stupid thing to do. But no, it's like you're saving your removal. Like, I won't use it on this 5/5. I'll save it for the 10/10, or I'll save it for this card that has this effect that I know I'm gonna see because I know that everybody's using the same sort of stuff, or based on what class they are, I know what they're gonna have. And the only one I know that for sure with myself is I know that they're gonna have an annoying deck as Rose, because that's just what Rose does. Planet of the Greats is a good one. I mean, we have to just, but we can't rely on the hunt because of the simple fact that they could easily kill me if they just destroy like the mascot. Yeah, this is one of those series I would have never expected would have lasted this long. Not even that, oh, I would have never expected that I would play it in the first place, but certainly not made a series out of it, and certainly not had it go on for this crazy amount of time. Because originally it was just to introduce like my permadeath multiplayer gauntlet thing, or as like a placeholder, so like play as every class, every character until you lose, and then, you know, move on. But you can't do that because, you know, it's going to come down to the block meter. They might die, or no, it won't, because they... Ah, fuck, it will, though. It's +2, +2. Not even going to matter, though, really, like... Or no, well... Fuck. I just hate how much of an impact that sometimes have, the stupid-ass block meter. Let's go to Green Shadow myself. Although I have enjoyed Wall Knight. Actually, let's do Wall Knight. There's no real fixed order I have to play them in. I just like to alternate between the two. As far as, like, you know, if I... Whatever. If I get to... Team up. I kind of like the team up precedent that we have early. I'll even settle for that. You know, every time I lose as a plant, I have to play as the... zombies. Every time I lose a zombie, I play as a plant, and obviously I can only play as each one once per episode, or I mean not once, but until I lose once, basically. So if it goes on a good streak and lasts the whole thing, then that's fine, which wouldn't really take that long considering the fact that they copied two things from Zelda. That looks like the skull icon that they have on their belts or whatever in Wind Waker, and then all the explosion sort of smoke clouds look like that too. Or like, I'm not a huge fan of environments, but I've always wanted to troll people by like putting 3 of them down, you know, one on like every lane, or that could have been something they added later as a mechanic too, the ability to put them even on these lanes. So I'll put a land environment on the water to make it no longer amphibious or something like that, or vice versa, like how you put the water one on the land, not even that it becomes amphibious only, but, or like aquatic only, but it becomes like they lose a value if they don't have that or something. This might seem like a bit of an overcommit, but maybe this is more so the style of play I should be going for here anyway. That is pretty good value. Right, and you can try to play defensively all you want here, but there is still a limit. I can't play like the truly long game style that you might want as this hero. Hydra Nut, his attack becomes 3, so mainly what you want to do is have it be a good effect, which that I don't really think is going to be. Right, it's got no effect, in fact. Become invincible. Okay, that's fine. Again, I don't object to the hero power cards existing, but I just object to how you get them, really. And even the randomness built into that. This will be kind of useless right now. Most of this is not entirely compatible. This might be worth it. I mean, again, I got to get in the different mindset. Don't play full aggro and ignore what they're doing, right? Unless your name is Captain Combustible, or unless you really are a degenerate aggro fiend. That animation is pretty sick. But why exactly you did that, I still don't know. And whether they're bots or not, it doesn't mean it can't still be competitive and that I'm not necessarily potentially losing to them. But I have a hard time believing this game is really that popular, despite whatever dedicated fan base it might seem to have. You can't necessarily do anything with that. I don't really need to do anything with it, but it's just like, you know, it wouldn't be worth it to block it. You know, maybe I should just do this. And again, that's exactly the same sort of mistake though I was talking about, because you should save it for something better that you know that they're gonna have, but I'm a little bit worried about that at least. This is still like a mid-range Wall Knight. You're not gonna last forever against like the really good long game decks, but you can at least last out the early game, and potentially I almost want to see like play one of my decks against one of my other decks, right? Like, would this survive against the Captain Combustible one? Or like you should be able to do that too. You should be able to play as a plant deck versus a plant deck, or a zombie deck against a zombie deck if you really want. Like, what would be sort of a disqualifying factor that would prevent that from working? That could be a pretty cool mod idea, right? It would still work mechanically, like we should do these three together. So it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's pretty good, I guess. Even if we lose the one from that, which we don't obviously anymore. Yeah, that's a pretty boss play, but again, all this stuff is still kind of weak. These are mainly better as an early game play, like, wow, you get a 2-mana 2/8, right, just for simply playing that. Like, you can't really get that kind of value any other way a lot of the time. You will actually kill this because of the spike alone. Yeah, just our board position is pretty dominant, so that's always how I like to see it go. That you won on the board, almost like it's a board game rather than a card game, but, you know, you're actually winning this way. Feels very satisfying, regardless of the health or any other thing. Or you can win despite that on some other technicality, but that's just always what my style of play is like. Here, let's just do that. It should be pretty much over. I mean, they do still have 7 mana. I don't even really need to do that, but I'm kind of overdoing it a bit, just assuming that I've already won. I was even trying to like end my turn, but it wouldn't let me. Okay, how close are we to that? It'll still take a while. Yeah, Combustible is always good for a little jump start at the beginning of the episode for a win streak. And again, it's one of those net positive things, like we're assume that you, wow, I have too many of those. Assume that you have, like, god damn it, these mulligans haven't been too kind to me. Assume that you have one, like, assume that you have 2 decks of the same quality, right? Or 3 decks of the same quality. Right, so an aggro deck that's really good, or an aggro deck that's really bad, and a control deck that's really good, and a control deck that's really bad, right? So they're the same level no matter what, right? So just assume they're both really good. You would always rather use the aggro one, just because whatever the outcome is going to be, you're going to reach it faster, rather than sitting there for an hour, like in some games at least, right? Rather than sitting there for an hour, you will, just to win or just to lose, you could get to the same outcome in like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Like that would happen in Hearthstone. Why sit there for 10 hours to get 10 games done, regardless of outcome, assuming they're going to be the same ratio? You go 5 and 5 or whatever, 6 and 4, just like you would with an aggro deck, but, you know, it's just going to make it so much easier to speed run through and get the result. So there's an incentive built into that, right? So a legend caliber aggro deck is better than a legend caliber control deck, not because of any other reason than just the efficiency of time that it saves you. And so even if there's an assumption that at the absolute highest level it's typically going to be a control deck that gets there, right, that is the best. Then you speed run through the low ranks with an aggro deck, then you upgrade to mid-range a little bit, then you upgrade to control later. Like, only do it when you have to save yourself as much time as you want along the road. All these people with random numbers in their names doesn't help the argument that they very well might be bots. So the goal here is still survivability as much as possible. I probably should have actually done that just for the heck of it. So team up, untrickable, and play a conjure card that costs 4 or more. So of course this is a very, very good card that I almost wish I had. I'm a big fan of untrickable, just overall, but there's very few cards in the game that actually have it. Just like every other mechanic, though, because there's just very few cards overall, you could say. I mean, I should do this, because you're just getting good value, good trades. Right, so we'll kind of slow pace it as much as we can. That's kind of the discipline you have to have, though, with some decks, is like, I want to play my best card, my coolest card, as soon as I'm able to on curve, or as soon as, you know, whatever, but you got to hold it back, hold it back, hold it back, and you might win before you ever get a chance to use it. Whereas if you use it early, you might have lost because you need to hold it in your back pocket for when you really need it. So that's sometimes what people can't do. They just want to play it right away because, wow, it's awesome. I want to play Dark Matter Dragon Fruit. But you got to wait for them to use all their removal first and then play it, so then they have no way to deal with that. You can conjure a card, and then I still have like enough to play a couple different things. Not that I really needed the help there. This is the destroy all plants and zombies on the ground. That actually might be worth it because given the stage of the game that we're at, right? Tactical Q, that might be one of the only times I've ever played it, or maybe even the only time. I've seen plenty of people play it against me, although not lately. But you know, the only way I can do that is through some conjuration effect. But everybody loves that card just for the namesake and everything. There's plenty of meme potential in this game with the card names and puns and everything. Let's just ignore what he's doing over there and just do this. Get a little star fruit here, attacking all 5 lanes. Now, this is a heck of a combo, because how are you going to get through that lane and do anything? The problem is you should always put it the furthest to the left as possible, right? Because it's going to hit stuff before, you know? Like, it would have killed that before it trades in. Before it attacks in, right? So it would have saved you that 2 damage, but... Now, why not just do that on the star fruit itself? Because it would have just killed it. Yeah, it's not actually that good, but I can see how... Yeah, you always want to... Wow, look at that animation, though. What the fuck? I talk shit, it's not that good, but... What was that? Yeah, you want to play it as far left as possible, of course. That way it'll kill stuff before, you know, anything else even comes into play. So this is going to be pretty hard for you to deal with. So how exactly does this work in terms of the block meter, though? If it hits you 5 times, is it going to give you... It'll count as like maybe 1 hit. I guess we won't really find out because last time it kind of triggered that automatically anyway. But sometimes when it does that, it'll count as 1 hit. Or that would be god level actually if you buff it. Maybe that's what I'm underestimating. Right, in the same way that... Oh, here's one of my favorite cards too, but we won't even get the chance to... I guess we could have just done that. We won't even get a chance to appreciate seeing it. But now we're at the stage in the game where if they can outlast and deal with this board, right, it would be very impressive, but I don't think they'll be able to. And so we can chip away with what are relatively low damage values, right, but still be satisfied with our very strong board position, and it's perfectly fine. Yeah, this is my whole card game fetish right here, come to full fruition. Like, my nuts are throbbing right now with this position. Like, just give me... If you can deal with this board, you deserve to win, but you're not going to be able to. Not because it's even that great, but it's just like, you know, it's just not going to happen because they've already burned everything out, or their deck's not that good either, obviously. Yeah, like, that's really going to save you, dude. Trying to scare me with a ghost. Still doesn't matter. I don't care even if... Oh, shit. Well, of course, they could keep doing that, so there is some potential that... Yeah, see, they're just not going to last long enough for this to even be relevant. Fuck it, I'll just use everything, although I should have saved that for the thing. But he should just be dead now. This stupid-ass block meter is going to save them again. I might have gotten even a little bit too overconfident here, but I don't see how you can really survive. But I hate that so much, that that's such a big factor in the game, but you just have to deal with it. That's why this game died out. That's why it failed. Right, it never got support, but it's really not. It's just a very kid-friendly mechanic, right? That almost rewards you for losing. Like how they would do that. There was some controversy about some game like a... I don't know, I can't remember what it was. Like a Mario game where like it would give you certain handicaps. If you lose, you get like a special thing to help you. I'd mainly just like to complete this little 300 gem quest, or not 300 gem, the whatever 300 damage quest. Yeah, there is an exhaustive element to this where I can still run out despite how sometimes satisfying it can be. Use zombie that costs 2 or less. Okay. Untrickable, professional evolution. Gets +2/+2. You look kind of scarier when you first appeared. You should just kind of hide back in the hole so I can only see the skull of that. Literally me, an Ark Survival Evolved, am I right? Jurassic Fossil Head. Literally Ross Geller. You got +1 for the rest of the game. Or my friend was gonna make a clip of that. Like this is what he does. He does like all these little. He'll take a clip and just like put a subtitle on it. Like this is what. It's hard to explain. Like this is what would be some sort of scenario. So like there's this clip that's like some character from a cartoon saying fossils done 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 like in bed a few times, like he's just dreaming about fossils or singing a song about them, and right, his wife just is smiling and wakes up next to him. And so he was gonna put like Ross and Rachel, the married years, like from Friends, because obviously he's all into archaeology. So that's literally what it would be like. He'd wake up dreaming of fossils and singing about them. A +1 for the rest of the game. Okay, I should easily be able to deal with that, or actually I wouldn't, but I could play something there and then deal with it, because then it would get bumped down. And you would think, oh, you should be happy about the block meter on a defensive hero like this, but still, right, just in concept, in all objectivity, I don't think like that. We'll do that, and then we'll do this. Although I didn't really have to really worry about it that much. I could have just tried to trade in or something. Right, like that's not the most efficient form of removal. You should always use a removal on a card that costs more than what it is. Like, if it costs 5, you should be removing a 10 cost or 8 cost or something like that, right? Like that squash. Like with that, I used a 3 cost on like a 2 or 3 cost, whatever that is. Okay, that's actually pretty good, but it doesn't really matter for now. I can just heal them back up. Conjure any 3 cards. I would want like 4 copies of that, so I conjure 12 cards guaranteed every game. Make it like a random, you know, Renounced Darkness roll through kind of thing. I'm surprised how few card games actually have stuff like that. This is transformative as Hearthstone. That's what I love so much about it, that it took so many risks or had so many, like, you know, just out there mechanics that aren't even necessarily that good, but they're just kind of super game changing. You can go ahead and heal everything, which I should just do. That one almost doesn't even seem worth it to do now. Let's just do this, and then we'll get to heal everybody. What is this one again? Zombies can't do bonus attacks. Okay. He goes through all that effort. He uses a stupid little chicken card, and all for nothing, right? Making your opponent feel powerless is so much more important than simply the outcome or winning or losing. So like, he went through all that trouble and it accomplished absolutely nothing for him. And his board is kind of shitty. Yeah, I like just constantly chipping away at them with these little nuts that always have like low attack values. We need like an inner fire card. Make a plant's attack equal to its health, right? You just get his health up to crazy amounts, and then there is something kind of like that. I feel like this zombie's attack is always equal to its health or something, or it's this plant. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but strike through one is okay. We'll do that, I guess. Yeah, you do have to have more of a defensive mindset. Not that I'm not normally like that anyway, or I'm like kind of somewhere in between, obviously. But with this game, I've been sort of spoiled or gotten too obsessed with doing I've gotten too obsessed with doing the stuff just aggressively because I feel like I have to almost. So that's good. So now you'll just die to this, but sometimes it does feel like it bugs out because it's supposed to cost like 1 or whatever, right? But it doesn't, because whatever, you'll be at 0, but you'll get it, and then you can just play it for free, courtesy of the block meter. But I don't know to what extent that is a bug. Like, that's happened to me a couple times. I have zero mana, but I still play a trick that costs 1 as soon as I get it. Or a superpower or whatever. So get rid of that, get rid of that. These mulligans have been pretty bad, but I guess most of my stuff ends up being a little higher cost somehow. Which is fine with a deck like this, like I can deal with that. The only downside with that thing is the bullseye is not present, right? That's what would make it really good. Damn, we're getting cucked on the curve a little bit here. Deals 2, obviously there's nothing I can do about it. See, was that really my fault? I even mulliganed pretty hard. Maybe it's just the fault that the deck is like a little bit too slow paced. It'd be very hard to recover from this. This is going to be moved to another lane, so I think it might be worth it to do that. At least we get to trade in and get saved by my block meter a little bit. Like, you get saved in two senses. One, that it'll absorb the damage, but number two, it'll give you a superpower card to try to help you. Like, yes, everybody gets them and it's an equalizing factor, but maybe I should do it actually, because we just started off in such a bad spot that I need to recover. Right, so that at least helps with all the setback. 1 mana 2/2. You have to play as many things as possible. 1 damage to everything. I don't know. You have something +2 health. That's perfectly fine. And then we'll just do this. Move a plant, he gets +4. Even if you moved it there, though, the chicken would move too. So what if I do that? Then that'll cause this to move, and it'll have to move there. All right, wait, that doesn't count as a plant being played, I guess, since it's just being moved. All zombies get deadly, okay. Their hand doesn't really seem that intimidating, but they just got up to such a good start, right? I'm still in a very tough spot. Very rarely do you see people automatically lose like their 3, or like in the course of a game lose all 3 of their super block charges, right? Usually you'll lose before that ever happens. Such an awkward spot to be in, like overshoot 3, fusion zombie gets +3, overshoot 3. I'd rather play multiple things, but I really just can't. Right, I'd only be able to play one thing and only just really be able to trade. 1 for each other plant and zombie. It's gonna have deadly anyway, so it doesn't matter. Right, whatever I do, it's just not helping me. I don't know why I keep ignoring this guy. I just like the fact that his monkey's on his head there, so I want to keep him around. Alright, so that'll do 1 to everything, which is perfectly fine. And then we also get to potentially heal or something. Make a wall now. Okay, that'd be perfectly fine too. I can still do this. It's just that I need like a heal or something very opportune. Right, their board's gonna be completely dried up, and I have plenty of things to play, but I just don't have enough mana with which to do it. We got off to such a bad start that it could be difficult. Let's say we just play something there to block, play something there to kill it, or why not just play 2 things, but then again, conjure a mushroom and it gets +2. Let's try that actually first. Oh shit, but then this will move. Damn it. That was the worst possible thing I actually could have done. Now I'll be leaving myself open to this 1 potential damage if they have anything else here, which they might not, or any removal. Yeah, wait. Oh, fuck. But they could have theoretically done that anyway, right? This one lane would have potentially been open, whatever. So we'll play like maybe one more if I have to. Fuck, it would take more than that though, just to get this stupid. Let's do Infinity, whatever. We'll get a chance to see the Cowboy, whether we play as either one of these two, right? Because you can use it both on Super Brains and Infinity. Okay, that's fine. I'll keep the 5 cost just because we'll have something higher cost to play. Sometimes you get to that later stage in the game and you're practically dying for it because you have so few things that are high cost, at least with a deck like this. So please heal for at least 3 so I can do over 20 to you, so then I don't have to play 2 games. So when a pirate hurts the plant hero, that's perfectly fine. Barrel waste am, that doesn't really matter right now. Deal 2 to the zombie here, obviously. Fuck me. I don't feel like I see this guy a ton, the mine guy. I forget what his name even is. Is it just Spuddo, which is what it says, like, whatever, the onomatopoeia that happens when you... This is unfair treatment. Why did they get the fire hydrant on their side? So it almost makes it look like that's blocking whatever amount of damage I might do. And this is, of course, the innuendo one that I wasted 500 gems on myself, which has some value to it, but yeah, this is kind of like the inner fire type thing I was saying, but it's just not really all that good because if you keep trading into something, you'll end up losing out anyway, right? So it's a 3 mana 4/4, let's say, but then every time it loses health, it's going to lose attack too. So you have to go out of your way to basically buff it like crazy, which is a lot easier to buff health values than attack values. So on that basis, it could be worth it. My board is okay, especially the... Oh, here we go. The meme lord. Fuck it. I'm just going to become a bit of a meme myself. I'm not doing it to try to win the game even. I'm doing it just to try to complete my daily quest. But I mean, obviously, they just left like a naked storage floor out there with no protection. They deal 6 to zombie here, perfectly fine. But if it worked like the way it does in the actual PvZ game, it would deal it to all 3 rows next to that. So we're both pretty low. I just have to figure out a way to last this out a little bit longer. And I'm going to ignore somehow the Storage Lord in the process. Like, I don't even really care. Which could be a huge mistake, but the whole point is the game shouldn't last long enough for that to be relevant anyway. And if it does, I probably wasn't going to win anyway, but... Amphibious, your nuts get 2 health. Okay. Some of this stuff I've just left around for far too long. But that's not going to be too good because one of them is just already going to die. Or that buff might have been the difference in making lethal. Which it actually almost was. Okay, so they're very close to dying, and in fact that should do it, but if there wasn't this stupid ass mechanic of a block meter, there's no reason to even bother doing that. Or, yeah, because even if I like bounce that, it wouldn't matter because I should bounce this and just hit you in the face with that and then kill you with that, right? Before we even get to the point of any of these. Right? So if I just bounce that, none of this should matter. Bounce it, hit you in the face to trigger the block meter. And then if that doesn't save you, then you should die to this. But then again, I'm gonna die if it does save you because... Fuck. Come on, man. These are kind of intense and coming down to the very last second, the very last play. Okay, we have to do one more then. We'll give Green Shadow some love. Not that I ever need an excuse to play as him because he was always my favorite, but somehow he's let me down a little bit, just despite the Dark Matter Dragon Fruits and almost being spoiled in that regard. Dude, look how long it's taken me. Like, I got to rank 10, but now I've been hard stuck. Fuck it, I'll keep both of them too. The real win condition for this game is just do like 3 damage to them. But look how long it takes me to do that stupid ass quest too. It's like, I've had it for like probably 2 weeks now. Right, so if you were, not only do I not play the game every day, just once a week, so that I can't do a quest like that every day, even if there was one, or even if it's like a weekly quest, but I can't do it even every week. I'll end up doing it like once a month. But some of them aren't as bad as that. They give you 100. It's just doing 300 is a lot. Like, it's going to take you at least 10 games, even if they heal a little bit and stuff like that. Okay, that's still an okay trade. Heal 2 sections from block meter. Some of these games we do just get off to an awful start, and people might always criticize how willfully I use some of those. Like, I don't hold them back as long as maybe I should, which in some of these decks actually that's probably true. It's just for a simple curve purpose, I think I'm not going to get a chance to really play it because I'm always playing on curve. Like, I should trade in. Like, there's no reason why I don't even have to trade in. But, like, I shouldn't be so aggressive and just keep ignoring what they're doing with these kind of decks. Right, if I get down to the end game, there's no way they're going to be able to deal with this and survive it. We've almost forgotten how fun the 3-peater can be if you buff it up because of the simple fact of, you know, that's what we should have later, like a star fruit, if I ever get it from a pack. A star fruit, a 3-peater, and a dark matter dragon fruit AoE buff deck. Just everything with splash damage and things like that. That's what kind of hurts me even more with the whole inability to do to craft. I wouldn't craft things even for optimal purposes, like how I've done so much in Hearthstone in this day and age at least. I'll craft stuff just for a gimmick. So like I'll craft every card in the game that has splash damage just to put them together. Not because it's good, but just to keep a fun, cohesive theme. Right, like let's make an all splash damage deck, or let's make an all amphibious deck, or something. Right, so I would just craft a lot of stuff single-mindedly with that intention, just to commit to a theme very hardcore, which can be very fun. Again, you're not doing it because it's good, you're doing it because it's interesting, or you just want to commit to an idea. Overshoot 3, man, these people are obsessed with that thing. I mean, that'll be doing like 6 by itself. When hurt, deal 2 damage to the plant hero. Wait, does that mean I just lose from that alone? Between the 2 overshoots that we have? Well, it doesn't matter. I guess we're still the real winner because, damn, we kind of speed ran a couple losses, and I won't say I was even trying to do that. Like, I was still trying to win for all intents and purposes. So yeah, we're inching closer to what is actually a very good spot where once I get to 1750, I will get the zombie hero, and beyond that, I will just save the 1,000 for Badman Rising when and if it ever happens. Okay, see you tomorrow.